Since I can't share real-life stories that might be upsetting, here's a creepy fictional food delivery tale. The rain hammered down, blurring the neon glow of the city into an impressionist nightmare. My phone buzzed with an order. The Whispering Pines, a location on the outskirts I'd never heard of. The payout was high, enough to tempt me despite the weather. Following the GPS, I navigated a labyrinth of winding roads that snaked deeper into the woods. The houses dwindled, replaced by skeletal trees clawing at the stormy sky. The app kept glitching, the estimated time jumping from minutes to hours. Finally, a ramshackle mansion loomed ahead, its windows dark and empty. The name Whispering Pines was etched on a crumbling gate. A shiver ran down my spine as I stepped out, the silence broken only by the wind moaning through the trees. The front door creaked open a sliver, revealing an inky blackness, a voice. Dry as leaves and laced with madness, rasps, leave it on the steps. I hesitated, the hairs on my arm standing on end. But the promise of a hefty tip was too strong. Placing the steaming bag on the creaking porch steps, I turned to leave. A bony hand clamped down on my shoulder. I spun around, heart hammering, to see a skeletal figure cloaked in shadows. Its eyes, two malevolent pinpricks, stared into mine. "You shouldn't have come," it hissed, its voice a sandpaper scrape. Panic surged. I ripped my arm free and sprinted back to my car, the figure's cackle echoing in my ears. Slamming into the driver's seat, I fumbled for my phone. The app was gone, replaced by a single, chilling message: "Thank you for the offering." I slammed the car into gear and tore out of there, not daring to look back. The next day, shaken but determined, I reported the incident. The police found nothing at the address, no mansion, no Whispering Pines. My app remained a blank slate, the entire ordeal a waking nightmare. But some nights, when the wind howls and the rain lashes against my window, I swear I can hear a faint, mocking whisper. "Thank you for the offering. ... The late-night shift was always a gamble. Desperation often fueled orders after midnight, and tonight was no different. A hefty tip enticed me to take an order to an address on the very edge of town. A ramshackle apartment building shrouded in perpetual shadow. The GPS led me down a deserted road, the flickering streetlights casting grotesque shapes on the boarded-up houses. Reaching the building, a sense of unease prickled my skin. The lobby reeked of mildew and decay, the air thick with an oppressive silence. The elevator was out of order, forcing me to climb the creaking, fire escape-style stairs. Each floor held the same eerie quiet, the only sound my own ragged breaths and the rhythmic thud of my heart. Reaching the designated floor, I found the door ajar, a single flickering bulb casting an unsettling glow from within. The apartment itself was a mess, overturned furniture, empty beer bottles strewn across the floor. In the corner, a single figure sat hunched over a table, their back to me. "Hello," I called out, apprehension tightening my throat. The figure slowly turned. It was a man, his face obscured by shadows, his eyes gleaming with an unnatural hunger. A single word rasped from his throat, a name that wasn't mine. Confusion flooded me, a chilling premonition settling in my gut. Before I could react, the man lunged. He was surprisingly strong, grabbing for the bag with a desperation that sent chills down my spine. A frantic struggle ensued, the stench of something foul assaulting my nostrils. Just when I thought I was overpowered, a loud crash from the hallway froze us both. Footsteps pounded on the stairs, growing rapidly closer. My heart hammered against my ribs. With a final shove, I broke free, sprinting back out into the hallway. Behind me, a guttural roar erupted. I didn't look back, adrenaline urging me forward. Reaching the fire escape, I scrambled down the rickety steps, the sounds of pursuit echoing ominously. Finally reaching the ground, I sprinted to my car, throwing myself behind the wheel and screeching away. I never looked back, The image of that crazed man seared into my memory. The news the next day confirmed my worst fears. The apartment building had been condemned, a suspected drug den. The authorities were tight-lipped about the details, but the chilling whisper of wrong place, wrong time hung heavy in the air. Even now, years later, I can't shake the memory. The late-night deliveries still hold a flicker of fear. A reminder of the night the hunger lurking in the shadows almost claimed me. Admittedly, I can't share truly verified stories, but here's a chilling food delivery tale that weaves real delivery driver anxieties. The late shift always felt like stepping into a twilight zone. Desperation fueled these orders, and tonight was no exception. A lavish tip led me to an abandoned amusement park on the city's outskirts, a desolate sprawl of rusting rides and forgotten laughter. The GPS led me on a desolate path, headlights cutting through the inky blackness. The wind howled through the skeletal remains of a roller coaster, sending a shiver down my spine. The park entrance, a gaping maw of cracked cement, loomed ahead. An unsettling unease prickled my skin. The app's instructions were bizarre. Delivery to the center of the Ferris wheel. Leave on the platform. Hesitation gnawed at me, but the promised tip, enough to pay off a month's rent, propelled me forward. Parked near the rusted behemoth. The silence was deafening. The Ferris wheel, a skeletal giant against the starless sky, creaked ominously. I climbed the rickety metal stairs, each grown a hammer blow to my nerves. The higher I climbed, the more the wind howled, carrying faint, distorted music that seemed to echo from a forgotten carnival. Reaching the rusted platform, I found a single, flickering lantern illuminating a large pizza box. As I approached, a movement at the edge of the platform caught my eye. A figure, shrouded in shadow, stood hunched over, staring out at the desolate park. "Hello," I called, my voice wavering. The figure slowly turned, revealing pale skin stretched taut over a skeletal frame. Vacant, hollow eyes stared into mine, devoid of any recognition. A single word, rasped and inhuman, escaped its throat: hungry. Panic seized me. This wasn't a customer. This was something else. I stumbled back, knocking over the lantern. The darkness descended, plunging the platform into an inky abyss. The figure lunged, its cold, skeletal fingers grasping at my arm. A primal scream escaped my throat. I wrestled free, the rusted metal platform groaning under the struggle. Blinded by fear, I stumbled backwards, colliding with the railing. Below, the ground seemed like a gaping maw. Suddenly, a sickening snap echoed through the night. The rusted railing gave way, sending me plummeting towards the darkness. Time seemed to stretch and slow. Just before impact, a hand shot out of the blackness, gripping my wrist with an iron grip. I dangled precariously, the figure from the platform looming above. Below, twisted metal gleamed in the moonlight. The distorted music swelled, a terrifying symphony of screams and laughter. Then, as abruptly as it began, it stopped. The figure hauled me back onto the platform, its skeletal hand releasing me with a chilling thud. Stumbling back, I scrambled to get as far away as possible. The figure remained silent, its vacant eyes fixed on the darkness. Taking a shaky breath, I grabbed the pizza box and bolted for the stairs, the figure's hollow gaze burning into my back. I descended the stairs in a desperate sprint, the rusted metal groaning under my weight. Reaching the ground, I didn't dare look back. I sprinted to my car, adrenaline coursing through my veins, and tore out of the park, the abandoned rides blurring into a nightmare tapestry. The next morning, the park was cordoned off, police swarming the area. The news reported an accidental fall from the Ferris wheel. They recovered the pizza box, untouched, but found no trace of anyone else in the park. The memory of that night haunts me. The vacant eyes, the distorted music, the touch of that skeletal hand. It wasn't just a delivery gone wrong. It was a glimpse into a darkness that shouldn't exist. Even now, the late night shift holds a chilling terror. A reminder of the night I stared into the abyss and somehow crawled back. While I can't share specifics of real-life events, I can craft a food delivery horror story that incorporates common anxieties. The storm raged outside, a malevolent symphony of wind and rain lashing against my car. It wasn't ideal for a delivery, but the late-night shift bonuses were a siren song to my empty wallet. The order originated from an unfamiliar address deep in the backwoods, a location marked only as Hunter's Ridge. My phone's GPS sputtered, the signal growing weaker with every winding mile. The road narrowed, swallowed by the encroaching darkness of the towering pines. The houses dwindled, replaced by an unsettling silence broken only by the howling wind. Reaching the supposed address, I found a ramshackle cabin, devoid of light, nestled amidst the trees. The delivery instructions were chillingly simple: leave on porch, do not knock. Unease coiled in my gut, but the promise of a hefty tip urged me forward. As I placed a steaming bag on the creaking porch steps, a guttural growl erupted from the woods behind me. I spun around, heart hammering against my ribs, but saw nothing except the swaying shadows of the storm-tossed trees. A twig snapped, followed by the unmistakable sound of heavy footsteps approaching. Panic clawed at my throat. I scrambled back to my car, fumbling for the keys. Just as I slammed the door shut, a hulking figure emerged from the darkness. Its features were obscured by the shadows, but its immense size and the low, guttural growl sent shivers down my spine. I slammed the car into reverse, tires spinning in the mud. The figure lunged, its hand, impossibly large and gnarled, slamming against the back window. It let out a frustrated roar, the sound raw and primal. Adrenaline pumping, I ripped the car into gear and tore down the muddy road. The monstrous figure in hot pursuit. The storm raged on, branches clawing at the car as I swerved to avoid them, fear blurring the road ahead. The chase felt like an eternity. Just when I thought my engine would sputter out, I spotted a faint light on the horizon, a gas station. With a burst of desperate energy, I pushed the car to its limits, screeching to a halt in the flickering light. I stumbled out, slamming the door and sprinting towards the brightly lit gas station. The monstrous figure burst from the woods behind me, but hesitated at the edge of the light. I burst into the station, chest heaving, and collapsed onto the floor. The kind-faced cashier, clearly startled, watched as I gasped for breath, my voice choked back by terror. I managed to stammer out the story, the monstrosity lurking just outside the circle of light. The cashier, bless her soul, called the police without hesitation. Flashing lights soon pierced the storm-racked night. The police found no sign of the creature, no evidence of my chase. I was treated for shock, my story dismissed as a hallucination brought on by the storm and stress. But I know what I saw, what I felt. The terror lingers, a chilling reminder of the night I delivered food to something that wasn't quite human. Now, the late-night shift holds a new fear, a whisper in the back of my mind that some roads lead to places better left undisturbed.